right. I think we're set. Welcome everyone to the Board of Trustees meeting for the Utah Transit Authority today, Wednesday, September the 25th. We invite you to stand and join us in repeating the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. We'll start off our meeting with our safety minute, and Lamont Worthy. Lamont, good morning.
Good morning. With this week being Road Safety Week, I'd like to start off with some tips on how to be safe around our trains and tracks. So when you're out there, you see tracks, automatically think of trains. So always, whenever there's a set of tracks, no matter where you are, just consider that there could be a train at any given moment to appear there. Also, we want to stop, look, and listen whenever we're around town, especially here in downtown Salt Lake. We want to stop at active grade crossings and stay stopped until the red flashing lights come to a complete stop and it's safe to proceed. Look for hazards in your area. Always be mindful of your surroundings. Listen for approaching trains. Turn off your radio, remove your earbuds or headphones. Thank you.
Thank you. Come on. Good, great advice. Bob, is there any public comment?
We do not have public comment today.
Okay. Well, that takes us to item number 5, which is approval of our minutes from our meeting on September the 18th.
I make a motion that we approve the board minutes for September 18th.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. Next item up is our agency report with our Executive Director, Carolyn Gannott. Carolyn, good morning. How are you?
Sorry about that.
Oh, you're great. Sorry.
Problem with my garage opener.
Oh.
So I finally figure out how to open it when it gets stuck. So I just wanted today to talk first about the recognition of our bus rodeo participants. It was on September 15th. 2019. It is a nationwide standardized competition for all the bus transit agencies, and we, through this bus rodeo, local bus rodeo, we're able to pick who will be participating for us and competing nationwide. The rodeo was for all fixed route and special service operators, and we want to recognize the winners. These winners will be sent to the National Bus Rodeo Competition that is in San Antonio, Texas, for the fixed route services on, I actually think, is that fixed route on that date, May 2020, and for paratransit in Louisville, Kentucky in May 2020 as well. So the competition included scoring on current on-job performance, professional appearance, pre-trip inspection, driving skills, and the time obstacle course. 25 operators competed. I was out there to see probably about 15 of them. It was interesting to watch it and know that it's probably stressful. They get one shot at it, so wishing them all luck. And it was a good event. Many of the employees and the family members actually volunteered to help plan, carry out, and support the event. And there was a little raffle at the end for all the volunteers who came out as well. So I thought it was very nice. So I want to introduce the winners, and they do receive an award for that as well. So for the first place, it's Gustavo Molinaro.
If we could have a stand, or would you want to have him come forward? Andy?
Yes, I want to have him come forward. Oh, he's not here?
He's stuck in traffic. So
Oh,
you'll see him come in. He has his sister with him. She's visiting from Argentina. So
But he will be representing us in the fixed route competition.
when he comes in,
we'll
let's
talk
have
from
him make sure we
Timpanogos. And I know it's like a competition between each of the business units. So for second place, it
Could
was
we say that one more time? Which one was it?
Timpanogos.
Timpanogos. Oh, good. I'm not partisan at all, as you can tell.
Second place, it's Joseph Ulamia. I'm sorry, I'm probably messing your name up, Ulamia. from Salt Lake Business Unit. Is Joseph here? Sure. And third place goes to Lionel Arahu from Mount Ogden. Arahu. Oh, he's not able to make it today. So we'll maybe honor him at another date. For special services and paratransit, first place went to Talon Penrose. Oops, wait. Second place, you might as well just stay up there. Second place is Donnie Bowman. Third place is to Javier Guzman. Call forward Gustavo Molinaro. First place. The next item, well, actually, congratulations to all the winners. I know you'll make a UTA proud at the events. The next item is the Rail Safety Week. This week is Rail Safety Week. It started off with actually press conference here on our, I think at the facility here at Salt Lake Central. Is Lamar here? Okay, Lamar will be giving the update and the activities that are going on this week and the focus.
Good morning again, Board. Thank you for highlighting this very important week. Rail Safety Week happens every year, It's a time of year that we, with joint partners, get together and actually highlight rail safety around the state and the nation. So I would like to start off showing a couple of videos of some advertisements that's been put together. This first one was put out by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, and it's been released in theaters.
Will stop if they see a car on the tracks? You're right. They will. About a mile after they hit you. Stop. Trains can't.
So that's the Stop Trains Can't awareness program. Again, this was released in select theaters around the nation. So it highlights the dangers of trying to beat a train. This video here is compilation from our stations and our trains here in Salt Lake City. And we can go back. Yeah, it just highlights the things we see out on our network on a daily basis. This was done in conjunction with UDOT. So that last clip, the guy did stop running before the train got there, and so it was a close call. So there was no injury, no harm to the actual trespasser. Our driver was a bit shocked and had to recover once he pulled into Salt Lake Central. And that's something we don't really highlight here, is the effect these incidents have on our operators, because it's quite significant. Some of the things I want to highlight also is our direct involvement at UTA with Rail Safety Week. So on the 24th, we have Operation Clear Tracks. It's where our UTA PD partners up with other local agencies to do public awareness around being safe around tracks and the rules that people, both pedestrians and vehicles, have to follow when they engage with our tracks and our crossings. The 25th of September, which is today, we have our latent safety fair. I'll be part of that. We'll be going down there with the safety group from UTA, where we sit and man a booth, staff a booth there, where we hand out public awareness swag to highlight being safe around our trains. We touch probably upwards of 3,000 people at that event. So we get the message out broad and wide. On the 26th of September, we have the Transit Safety Day. Again, we're going to be going to North Temple, Orem, and we're going to again be handing out brochures, swag to highlight safety around our trains and on our system. So that's what this week entails of. Was there any questions regarding?
I had a question. Where is the event today at Layton? Is it at the Frontrunner
It's
station?
at the actual fire brigade at Ellison Park.
Okay.
So we'll be there manning a booth. Tim Rhodes will be first on site from the Safety Administration Group, and he'll be setting it up. And then we stay there for the whole entire event, making sure we engage with the public.
Thank you.
I was going to say, Lamont, my daughter, who's a student at the UGA, handed a little reminder card yesterday from one of our officers, and that, we've had the discussion a lot as a family, and and fortunately she knows the rules, and she was obeying them, of course, but it was a pleasant surprise to hear that we were out doing some of that, so that's great.
I like to be present and visible. All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Lauren. Okay, and the third item on my agency report is a Clearfield Station Transorient Development. There is an exclusive negotiation agreement that we are working through, and I just wanted to brief you on that. We do own 60 acres of land adjacent to the Frontrunner Station. In March 2019, the Clearfield City and UTA completed a station area plan, which provides a vision for the area within approximately 1/2 mile of the Clearfield Station. The vision was adopted by Clearfield City Council in February and then by UTA in March. Based on the results of that study and on the UTA's TOD system analysis tool, the trustees selected Clearfield Station as one of the 3 TOD development sites and permitted the TOD department to proceed with the procurement of a development partner. In April, UTA advertised the project using an RFQ, or request for qualifications and proposals. Evaluation criteria were derived from the station area plan and best practices. There was a selection panel that included Clearfield City, Washout Front Regional Council, and UTA. They evaluated all the responses and selected Hamilton Partners and Stack Development to be the development team. They are reputable, experienced, and have previous working experience with UTA. The ENA that we will be moving forward, which is just our ability to negotiate an agreement to move towards a sort of a master development, is to establish the parameters to proceed with the master plan and the master development agreement, the financial analysis and development budget for the Clearfield TOD. Paul Drake is here. Do you want to give a little bit more update about what will be happening with the ENA and what some of the terms are?
Morning, Paul.
Good morning. Thank you again, Paul Drake, Senior Manager of Real Estate and TOD. Thank you, Carolyn. Thank you, trustees. Basically, the exclusive negotiation agreement covers those basic terms during the period where we're seeking entitlements and doing due diligence on the property. The end result of that, hopefully, is a master plan and a master development agreement. So, in this particular agreement, we've established a timeline. Right now, the overall timeline is 12 months, and then there are milestones and deliverables that are expected of our development partner at certain points during that 12 months. For instance, at 6 months, we would like to see a preliminary master plan presented for basically a staff review, our design review committee. Within 10 months, we would have an approved master plan, which includes phasing and a site plan for phase 1. And then at 12 months, we need to have an approved master development agreement, which is a review and approval by the board. It also includes a basic development budget. And at that point, we'll be ready for a financial analysis, which includes the operating agreement. There would be a site plan involved and a pro forma and all the terms, the financial terms that are ready to go for phase 1. That's also an approval by the board. On UTA's side, we have some basic obligations. We have to provide our development partner with any technical specifications, data, documents that we currently have in possession. The rest of them are on theirs to produce. If there needs to be environmental studies or whatnot, That's all on them. Anything that we have currently, we're obligated to offer to the team. There is one scenario where there might be reimbursement that would be required of UTA. It's very, very unlikely. But say within these 12 months, if there's a federal or a state law change that precludes UTA from participating in TOD. So in this scenario, they've gone out, expended however much in due diligence costs and whatnot, and then if UTA has to pull the rug out from under them because of the state or the federal law, then we would be on the hook to reimburse them for their expended due diligence costs.
Is that pretty standard?
Yeah, because this would be something of no fault of their own. There's a whole bunch of other ways that UTA could potentially terminate the agreement, but basically those are if the developer fails to produce something that UTA can approve. But that's within their power, and therefore we're not on the hook for reimbursement then. Any other questions on that?
Well, I did have one question. In the city's sort of master planning process, they look at a sports facility potentially. Is that in the mix? Is this cover that whole acreage and it's up to the developer to come back to what proposed, or did some land get parceled off and the developer doesn't have the whole piece?
Well, currently, so we haven't agreed to anything yet. That's the whole point of this agreement, is to figure out our strategy for developing out the parcel. It's all supposed to be based off of the effort that we did with the city, the station area plan.
Sure.
The master plan or the concept plan that the developer proposed along with their overall proposal, some adheres pretty closely to what the city and UTA have agreed to. There is a portion that is designated in the station area plan and also in their concept plan for recreational use. It might float within those 60 acres that we have. We are actually currently talking to a vendor. We can't talk about it in public just yet. But anyway, we haven't decided yet whether that's going to be a disposition, whether it's going to be a joint venture, whether it's going to be whatever, or if negotiations will just fizzle out. So anyway, that's the whole point of these 12 months, is that we get to explore what we need to before coming to a final conclusion.
I just wanted to make a comment. This doesn't have anything to do with UTA per se, except for that it is near to the site that we already have for Clearfield City. And I know that the city has been doing a lot of redevelopment of various areas just adjacent to this. And I think that this, I'm excited to see how this parcels out, because I think that it's going to really fit with their new strategy. And I know that they're going to experience a lot of growth in that area, as well as job creation, because they're so close to Hill Air Force Base. So I'm excited to see it moving forward this way. This is great. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions that I could cover? Carolyn, trustees?
I think we're good.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thanks for that update. Carolyn, anything else?
That concludes my report.
Okay, great. Thank you. And we're glad you got out of the garage.
I did figure out I had to actually call my property management company and find out the code.
To get there. Well, good. Well, we're glad you're here. Next up is our financial report with Bob Biles. Welcome and good morning, Bob.
Thank you. So we'll go through the financial report, look at the dashboard first. You'll see that sales tax is running just a little bit ahead of budget, which is a little interesting because that budget was set at 5%. So we'll see how it goes. We just got our sales tax for this month this morning, and if I'm reading the report right, we saw about a 5% increase. So if you look down,
Yeah, I have just a question. It seems to me that we were behind 2 or 3 months ago. How did we?
sure. So yeah,
What
this is
happened that we're now slightly ahead? I mean, it's pretty close, but we're
sure. So some of it has to do with how you allocate the budget. So we had a $300 million sales tax budget, and we used historical averages to allocate that budget to the various months. But if you look at our sales tax history, some years sales tax starts slow and then accelerates as the year goes along. Some years it starts out hot and slows down. And so we try to use some historical averages, 3 or 4 years, to get some consistency there, but it's always just an estimate of what the budget is.
Would the year-to-date budget, that 141.6, would that be fairly close to what the actual was for the first 8 months last year?
I'd have to take a look at that and let you know.
It would be interesting to see if our year-to-date actual is 143
Sure.
through August. It'd be interesting to see what the year-to-date actual was last year, maybe the year before, to see how that's tracking both with our forecasts and year-over-year growth.
Sure, I can look at that. One of the things I do is I keep, I think I've got sales tax history since 2004. So one of the things I do when we start looking at how do we think we're going to end up the year, I look at, so what did we collect in the last, say, 5 months of the year compared to the last 5 or 6 years, compared to the prior year. And that varies. I want to say 5 months, this might be 6 months, but it's a few of the years, the growth year over year has been almost zero, where other years it's $7 million. So the years just have their own characteristics of how the sales tax come in. But I can take a look at that and tell you later on how that year-to-date budget compares to last year or years before.
Yeah, year-to-date actual.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thanks.
Sure, be happy to do that.
I might chalk it up to having to make multiple trips to Home Depot over the last month. So that's where it's all coming from.
Well, I'm surprised I didn't see you at Home Depot on my trips. Must go to a different one. And so if you look at the sales tax growth chart, we've been seeing this decline in the 12-month and 6-month average. And last month was a good month, so we're up at 4.2% for the 12 months and 3.8% for the 6-month period. Again, once I look at the sales tax report later today, I'll be able to update this for the next month. I was hoping to have that for today, but just didn't have time to get that done. As far as fair revenue, you can see we're slightly below the year-to-date budget, about $180,000, and that's just about how much we're behind compared to last year. Operating expense for $7.8 million under budget right now. About $2.4 million of that's based upon fuel. If you look at the diesel price for the year to date, we're at $203 versus $250. So you would expect we'd have a good savings on the fuel side of this. Ridership, we're right at the number from last year. I think the actual difference is 62,000. So a little bit lower than last year.
Bob, just a quick question on the ridership, because when you're talking about actual year-to-dates, that obviously can fluctuate. For instance, it's fall again, so obviously this is an impact typically for our education, for universities, because students going back to school, and then that slight dip can encompass summer, which of course doesn't have as many students. Is that a fair assessment?
Yes, and so we're comparing the same time periods. So we should be comparable here. And so notice for Utah County, the percentage didn't show up. It's actually 7.1%. So overall, the increase in sales tax for this month, by and large, we're up about 1% for every one of the agencies. The collections in August were quite a bit more than the August year before. So again, we're running at the 4.2%, and you can see the various counties all exhibit different revenue growth. Questions about that? Heading on, this is looking at the variance by mode. You can see light rail is the one that is in the red right now, where the expenses are a little
Can I
bit.
ask one question
Sure.
back on the prior slide? I'm sorry. Do the percentages of sort of share of the pie that you have listed, is that changing much? I mean, Utah County's had some very sort of high growth, but I just wonder, is that piece of the pie changing a lot or just a little?
It is changing. I recalculate those percentages every so often just to show the different percentages. And if you think about with the new sales tax in Salt Lake and Utah County, those percentages will change again. Today's receipts included about $3 million combined from the new fourth quarter Salt Lake and Utah County. I don't have the split of that, but between the two of them, that was an additional $3 million. And so, yes, those percentages will change. It seems like Salt Lake used to be a higher a few years ago. I want to say it was 64% in that territory. So if you look at variance by mode, light rail is the one that is expended more than their budget, at least what we assumed they would spend at this point. And some of that's due to the wages and benefits. You remember we had that sick leave accrual, and that really affected light rail heavily. So that's the primary reason there. Everyone else is quite a bit under budget. On administration, the top departments are the IT director, 1.5 million, legal, 670,000, the executive director, 500,000, and then risk management, 1.8 million. So those are the big contributors there. Unless you've got questions on the other ones, bus, it's mainly fuel. You can see some fuel savings in commuter rail also. And then if you look at it by category of expense, wages and benefits are over budget right now. Again, we talk about that sick leave accrual, but it's also overtime. We're about 1.6 million over on overtime for the year, but our regular wages are under by 2.2. So there's always an offset there. When regular wages are down, overtime will often be higher.
Bob, do we have a sense of, is that overtime simply just because we've had a hard time staffing up, or there's just been that much turnover?
I don't know
Or
if
is that
Eddie
typical
wants to try to
overtime?
answer that question. He would
And I'm
know
not
better than I do.
anti-overtime. I just, at some point, you hire more people, if it's constant, but I know in some of your staffing models, it's cheaper to do the overtime.
Right. I think it's just a combination of several different things. Obviously, we had some projects during the summer months that obviously creates some overtime, and then we've had some staffing issues of just getting people in. So if you think about the amount of training that Salt Lake's had to do, and any times as I've told the board before, anytime you have all those operating instructors, those OIs as we call them, out of the seat, then obviously you're covering that with something else. And to a certain point, we do that with extra board operators, but it obviously creates some level of overtime as well.
And then on the parts warranty, it's $900,000 over the budget that we had year to date for those. And then fuel, 2.4 million. Then the other changes, by department are kind of the same ones we talked about earlier with IT and the executive and some of those legal. Any questions about the financial report today?
No, I don't think so. Thank you. Our next item up, thank you, Bob. Next item up, item 8, contracts, disbursements, and grant. And the first item up is a repetitive bus parts auto purchase order inventory contract with Rocky Mountain Cummins, Dartco, Automotive Elliott, Automotive Freightliner, Warner Truck, Gillig, Lewis Bus, Mohawk, Muncie, Neopart, Romaine Electric, and Vehicle Maintenance Plant.
You did that well.
Yeah.
So-
I encourage you not to do it again. We got to get through this meeting.
So actually, we're pretty happy about the results of this particular bidding. We've taken 1,200 vehicle parts for buses and bid those out. We had 13 firms that responded, and we were able to award contracts to 11 different firms to provide bus parts over the next almost 4.5, 5 years. And this is based upon low bid and upon our historical usage of these parts for the last 2 years. The largest contract is with Gillig. That's almost $3.5 million. The next largest is Muncie at $1.5 million. And the others that are in the 500,000 range are Rocky Mountain, Cummins, Vehicle Maintenance Plan, and Mohawk. And the others are smaller amounts. Total amount is about $7.3 million. Be happy to answer any questions that you have on this, or if you ask too many specific questions, I have help behind me.
Well, a question that I have, does each supplier supply different parts, or are there multiple sources for the same part?
Right, so if they were the winner for the part, and if I say this wrong in the back, come up here and correct me, but as I understand it, if they were the low bid for that particular part, they are the supplier for that part.
Okay, so there's no duplication in the,
I understand
in the
there's
part
no
supply.
duplication.
Okay, all right.
The question, sorry, you look
No,
like
go
you have
ahead.
the question I had was just, how are these procured previously? In a similar way, or is this new?
I don't know, Troy or Amanda, can you give that history? I don't know the answer.
I'm just trying to have context, like, is this a new process, or is this similar to what we've done in the past?
Hi, I'm Amanda Burton from purchasing. It is very similar. We've done a contract like this before, and we had a 5-year on it that just recently expired. And this is based on new data of what's high usage.
Okay.
I had a question in regards to, obviously I see romaine electric, and it's hard to see romaine and not say lettuce after that. I apologize, so I almost did it again. But so is that the part supplier for our new electric buses, and is that specific to that, or is that just something within some bus systems that we utilize?
I'm actually not sure if they are a new electric bus manufacturer. They are one that we've bought parts from before, so it's a company we've used before for the very similar. But they are a pretty small firm, and they are awarded a few parts, but not a lot.
And so the new flyer buses were under a separate contract, and there were almost
thank you.
800 parts under that particular contract.
Thank you.
Are these suppliers similar to what we've had in the past? I mean, is it the same list of people?
There was 2 new vendors that we've never worked with before, but the rest have all been vendors we've worked with previously.
Okay.
Any other questions on this one? If there aren't any, I would entertain a motion on this contract.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the contracts, disbursements, and grants for the repetitive bus parts auto purchase order inventory contracts with Rocky Mountain Cummins, Dartco Automotive, Elliott Automotive, Freightliner Warner, Truck, Gillig, Lewis Bus, Mohawk, Muncie, Neopart, Romaine Electric, Vehicle Maintenance Plan.
And gratefully, I don't have to repeat the list, and I will second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes. Thank you, Carolyn. And then I think that takes us to a pre-procurement.
Right, so Mary DiLoretto will cover this. It's a pre-procurement for the Ogden Weaver Bus Rapid Transit. It's for the CMGC, or Construction Management General Contractor. Mary will go over that today.
Good morning. We already have a designer on board for this project, and now we're ready to issue an RFP to hire the contractor to perform that work. We're doing this CMGC process because that allows us to have the contractor on board during design so they could help influence design and, help cost it out prior to our submitting our application or updated application for small starts to FTA.
Any questions on this?
No, other than a comment, I think it's exciting to see that this move to that next level. I did attend a little kickoff meeting with the city as well as UTA and other, and the Weber County, I believe. And so I know that they're all very excited to see this happen in Weber State as well. And so this is a great move forward, so thank you.
I'm assuming that we do not have full funding for this project yet.
That's correct. We are anticipating a small starts grant of about 65% of the project. We have a lot of local partners who are contributing. We have some UTA funds. This says that there's a gap of about 2 million, and that could actually go up to 4 million if we do electric buses, which we think is the desire right now from the community. So there is that gap right now, but this is based on our anticipated costs. And once we have the contractor on board, we'll have a much better idea of the actual cost.
Now, once this contractor is on board, will they participate then in the preparation for the grant application, or has the grant application already been submitted?
The grant application has been submitted twice. We update it as we get more information, and we will update it as we get a more firm price. And so they will be
This contractor?
correct.
Okay.
But
thank
the
you.
actual grant application to FTA, saying we want the full funding grant agreement, and we know what it is, will be in the spring, right? Or
Yeah.
we plan on having it formally submitted in the spring
By the spring?
with what
With the
we think is
cost.
the final
With-
request from
okay, with the
FTA
final-
and what
okay.
what the cost of the project will be.
Okay. Thank you.
Mary or Carolyn, if somehow funding doesn't come through, particularly from the FDA, obviously that'll delay the project. I mean, what's our obligation to the contractor? There's some obligation, I assume. We don't know because they're obviously got a bid, but will there be some
Right.
obligation?
Well, it's broken into two parts. So phase one would just be the the pre-construction services.
Okay.
And then if we didn't get the grant, we just wouldn't enter into the phase two, I guess, unless we found another source of funding.
Okay, all right. Very helpful, thank you so much. With that, I just note our next meeting will be on October the 2nd at 9 a.m. We have a closed session for a strategy session to discuss pending and reasonably imminent litigation, and we would excuse ourselves to go to the engineer's cabin conference room.
I make a
Come back.
motion that we adjourn and enter into closed session.
You mean recess? You meant recess,
Go into closed session.
or just go
Yeah,
into closed session?
Yes, go into closed session.
Okay, sorry.
I'll second.
I have a motion to go into closed session in a second. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That motion passes, and we'll go into our closed session.
audio's back on.
All right, we've reconvened from or come back from our closed session, and we're to the point of adjournment. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion, we close and we adjourn the meeting.
Second?
Motion is second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We stand adjourned. Thank you.